So number 1, 15% of 48 meters, 7.2 meters. And how did you work it out?
I divided it by 10.
Okay.
Half of 10 and half.
Yeah, so divide by 10 to get 10%, which is 4.8. So half of that is 5%, which is 2.4, and then down them together. 4.2. Yep, I agree. That's probably how I would have done it exactly. Okay. Number 2, 3/5 of 12 pounds. Anyone? £7.20, did you say? And how did you work it out? Right, 3/5 is 60%. So divide by 10, divide that by 10 to get 10%, and then times by 6. Another way to think of it, 60%, but also, of course, 3/5 is 6/10. Same thing, really. So divide by 10 times by 6. It's probably as good a way as any to do it. Anybody do it differently? Yep. Right, divide by 5 and times by 3. Yeah, how did you divide by 5? Right. Okay, so you actually really did almost the same thing, didn't you, to divide by 5, yeah? That's a nice trick to divide by 5, divide by 10, and then double it. Okay, good. Number 3, factorize. Factorize means remove common elements from each term. So, this expression's got 2 terms involved with it. So, factorize 3x plus 5xy, 2 terms, elements. Each of these things is called an element. Looking for common elements in these terms, things that are common. Remember what x and y are. They're numbers, values, numbers, yeah. X and x must be the same. Y could be different. Could be the same, but it could be different. So I know that whatever x is, it's common to that and it's common to that. So I can take it outside a bracket, and that's the process of factorization. Removing common elements from the terms. X is common to both of those, so I can take it outside the bracket. Then you have left with the problem, what am I left with inside? And the way I think about it is, I ask myself, what have I got to times that by that I've taken out to get back to 3x? Answer, 3. X times 3 gets me back to the 3x. What have I got to times x by to get me back to the second term? 5y. So that's factorized. X is into 3 plus 5y is factorized. That's the sort of thing I was looking for. So if you got that right, well done, well remembered. Simplify. This is pretty well what we were doing last week. There were 2 questions that sort of covered this. How can I simplify this? Any ideas here? Yeah, I can multiply out the bracket. So what would you get? 6x plus 12x, yeah. 3 times 2 is 6, 6x. 3 times 4 is 12x, good. And then what can you do? Yeah, you can add them together to get 18x. So you could have simplified further if you didn't finish that off. Of course, instead of expanding out, and that's good, you know, that's exactly how you expand out brackets. Looking at that, I could have added them together straight away to get 6x, and then times that by 3 to get 18x. Answer 18x. Okay, that's simplified. Number 5. Somebody on the back row, what's the missing number? 3. That's what we talked about last week, weren't we? Finding a third of x is the same as x divided by 3. So this means x divided by 3. 6, I was hoping you were going to remember Ohm's law, which is V equals IR. Voltage is current times resistance. Remember that. So I want to find a voltage, so just multiply them together. 3.6 times 5. Well, I times by 10 and half it, so that's 18. 18 volts. Number 7. Yeah. 5, 6. Can you talk us through it? You do. That's exactly right. Which would be 6. So what would that be over 6? Exactly. Yeah. So times top and bottom by 3, because 3 2 is 6, I'll get 3 over 6. And times top and bottom by 2, and I get 2 over 6. And now I can add them because remember, now it's the same denominator. So 3 6 plus 2 6 is 5 6. Important that, okay? It's not often you're going to have to do this, but algebraically you will. And so I might have mentioned this last week, you know, it's the algebra that's been associated with fractions. So if you're not happy with the fractions, you're certainly not going to be happy when it comes to doing it with algebra. Estimate the length of this room. Well, I paced it out yesterday with the other group, and it came to around about 8 meters. So, plus or minus a meter, give yourself a mark. Between 7 and 9. You had a head start. There's a meter rule right next to you. Did you notice it? A meter's roughly the tip of your finger to the shoulder. That's around about a meter. If you ever want to know what that is. Sorry? It actually doesn't seem to make a lot of difference. Obviously, there'll be a bit in it, but it's roughly that is about a meter. Pardon? What's that? What, long arms? Oh, really? Oh, well, in that case, you'd obviously have to be a bit careful, wouldn't you? 9. This calculation. So with the calculator, so you do it on the calculator. And we did this, yeah, we did this last week. 483 kilopascals. Or 483 thousand pascals. Why 483? Whoever said that? Why 483? Yeah, round to 3 significant figures because there's 3 in the numbers that you put in, yeah. So, having written this answer, what you got at the end? The fact that you simplified it, is you rounded it rather. So you always say, you should always put that because that's a rounded figure. So whoever's looking at this answer needs to know that you've rounded it. It's not an exact answer. Okay. So add up your marks. Out of 9.